Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. We got a special guest today. It's our great friend Chris Long, former Patriot, former Eagle, former St. Louis Ram, top 10 pick back in 2008. And he's got a tremendous podcast, the Greenlight Podcast. He keeps up with the NFL, and he's always a fun and fascinating guest. So we're going to bring him in and talk a little bit about the Patriots as they approach the New York Jets with an 0-2 record. All right, here's Chris. And, you know, as you might imagine, we do some pleasantries before we jump on. And we started talking before I had actually gotten ready to start the podcast. And he said, I actually like you guys. And I was like, oh, does he mean NBC Sports Boston in general? No, I meant the Patriots. Why do you like the Patriots?
I don't know. They got a long time to figure this thing out. The Jets getting – first off, Tom, great to see you. You're the man. And I'm not saying I love them. You know, I'm not saying they're going to, win a playoff game. I don't know. But I think they're a tough team to play this year. I mean, I thought they played the Eagles tough. I really did. Took away the field. Offensive line did a decent job, especially against that group. I mean, the guys inside got whooped a little bit sometimes by the rookie. But that kid might be the rookie of the year, the defensive rookie of the year.
Keion White?
No, well, I love Keion White. I'm talking about Jalen Carter.
Smashing the Patriots.
Line, yeah, your offensive line did a decent job relative to expectation, at least for me. And I love Keion White, by the way. Like that kid. I mean, I don't know if I should call him a kid. He's like a grown man. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You walk by him in practice? Have you walked by him a bunch?
More in the locker room. And it's funny because it reminds me of like Seymour. Because I said this to Fourier, Christian Fourier once. I'm like, so who'd be the toughest guy in here? He goes, look at Seymour. And I look down, he goes, he's 6'6", 306, and there's no fat on him. And that's kind of the same thing with Keion White. He's got to be over 295, and there's no fat. It's all just solid density.
When I first saw him play this preseason, I was like, who is that? Like, I was just like, oh, my God. And then I Googled him, and I'm looking at the kid, and I'm like, oh, my God, he looks like a grown man. This guy's like Bill's perfect rookie edge guy. Like, the vets are like, yes, sir. And I thought he did a good job. I mean, like, I don't see a lot of people moving Lane off the spot a little bit, and he was bullying, Jordan Mailata. So anyways, like, there's things like that. I can't even get through the breakdown without gushing about, a couple of the guys on there. I mean, Christian Gonzalez.
Yes.
That's a great play. A lot of those balls that are a little bit underthrown. I know he was coming from a little bit on the slot side, but like, he timed that up perfectly, didn't fall into the PI trap that people fall into out of control, that play he made. And, I texted somebody and was like, listen, man, like, is this kid actually good, or was he just in the vicinity of Tyreek Hill all night? Just go watch the tape. So you watch the tape, and, yeah, he played pretty well.
He's got that weird shadow ability that, again, he's in his third game going into it, but like a Revis, they just mirror every move, and they're seamless athletes, and they transition, and somebody stops and they stop too. That I'm going like Fred Flintstone.
Yeah. It's hard to quantify that. It's hard to put that, it's hard to figure that out in the combine, all that stuff. Like, yeah, somebody could be athletic, but this guy, as you mentioned, he seems like a smart player, smart kind of athlete. And, the rushers, I love the rushers. I saw guys do things in that Philly game to affect some of those O linemen that I don't see on a regular basis. And I think Mac Jones, now I'm not saying he looks great, because you got to win, you got to get points on the board. I think he looks better, like, than he obviously looked last year. I mean, some of the tight window throws, some of the middle of the field stuff he's working, like, there's something to build on there. So I'm not saying this team's here. I'm not saying they're the Dolphins. I'm not saying they're the Bills. But I am saying they can make life hell for those teams when they play them. And
that's a huge come down, though, for this team. That's a huge adjustment, I think, probably for Bill, too. I mean, it's a team that was walking into the Final Four every year. And realistically now they're somewhere between the 12th best team and the 25th best team. And that's a wild realization.
If you had to, I mean, if you put them in there, and I've looked at, like, if I pulled up PFT power rankings, PFT's power rankings for week 3. Let's see where they put the Pats. Gosh, I hope they didn't put them in the 20s. They put them 26th.
They did.
Kidding. I mean, I know this stuff is so we'll do this very thing, but the Commanders are better than the Pats.
But they're 2-0.
You know, the Bucks are better than the Pats. I understand the record component of it, but you still have Bill. He's still your coach. You know, I think the offense again looks more competent. I like the backs. The offensive line, it is what it is right now. And back in the day, I feel like with Scar there, it was like just cover everything up, even if you have an injury, that sort of thing. But you're missing a couple guys, that hurts you. So I don't know what you do there. And the weapons outside are not great. And I wonder if at some point you're kicking yourself, because I don't know. I'm not as plugged in as you. How close were they to getting in on DeAndre Hopkins?
They were foot dragging. They were really kind of foot dragging on it. And when he ultimately signs, it's not for an insane contract. It's, you know, for kind of pennies on the dollar. I mean, especially relative to, for instance, your former teammate Nelson Aguilar, who the Patriots went 2-22 with.
Who played great on
He
Sunday.
did play great for the
and
Rangers.
Lamar, and I'm very happy about that, because I do root for Lamar, and I thought the Monken thing, where we were worried about the offense and that sort of thing, and we got excited about, hey, more college elements. I was expecting a bunch of gun. They just have a really balanced run game now, even with
Ravens,
with Dobbins out. Yeah, and I thought Lamar played really well. And you know who he found a lot was Nelson in the first half. He went to him a bunch, and then the touchdown. So Nelly can play ball. I don't understand. You know, it's like the guy in Vegas was an automatic kind of guy for you, I thought.
It's just they come here, and, you know, 2021 wasn't great for him. 2022 was a disaster. He leaves, and there's competency. And that's why I wonder if this is like a fever dream that we're watching. Because when we do look at it, Chris, you know, post Brady, and you got to understand the first year post Brady is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Still went 7-9, had a representative effort. Then you have a season where you're 10-7 and things seem okay. But then the decisions on offense that Bill makes, and some of those free agent decisions he made the year before, with whether it's Nelson or Jonnu Smith, and then the offensive line decisions this year. And so Bill's under scrutiny. The team's 25-27. PFT's got him at the 26th ranked spot.
And he should be for some of the, I mean, like, listen, I understand, and he knows this. Like, you're calling all the shots, Tom. You know, if you make some personnel decisions that don't work out, people are going to criticize you. So I think that part of it's valid. There are personnel issues, but I'm looking at this list just to wrap this thing up. I cannot believe some of the Giants are better than the Pats this year.
They were a playoff team last year, though.
But it ain't last year. You know, if it were last year, you'd still have Matty P, and I wouldn't have seen Matty P in Philly. Matty P looks great, by the way.
Oh, good.
I went down for a practice, give him a big hug. He looks about, 190. He's been working out hard.
He's probably got the weight of the world lifted off his friggin' shoulders too.
But so I don't want to overestimate the guys. I know some people are sitting at home pissed off listening to this about your team, but they're good. I think they have the potential of rounding into form.
So facts is facts. If another coach had made the decisions that Bill had made, personnel-wise, coaching staff-wise, and had an average to below 500 record, it'd be reasonable to have the scrutiny and talk about hot seats. Yeah. Do you believe that Bill is entitled fully to engage in the long, slow slog to chase Don Shula, or should he be held to standards that he held himself to?
I wonder what he'd say. I think
that he held players to, I should say.
Yeah, if he would answer the question, which I don't know, good luck. But I think he'd probably say, I got to do my job. I have to be, and that's up to Robert to decide. In my personal opinion, it depends on the outcome of the next year or two and how things are going with that relationship with him and Robert. And I'm not like an insider, like I got teammates that I play with there that were there for 10, 12 years, even longer, obviously. Um, and for me, I'm just kind of taking shots in the dark when I talk about what the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see him coach somewhere else one day. And I think it'd be interesting, like I think he's the GOAT. And I think that entitles you a certain runway that other people don't get. It's like players, you get a certain latitude. Now, I do think some of the personnel stuff is a bit troubling, right? You look at the roster, there's some areas where I would have done it different, but who am I?
Mm-hmm.
I do think there is a possibility that before that record is attained, if you listen to people like yourself. Now, I haven't heard your take necessarily, but people that I think know what's going on, they say, that's not going to buy you a free pass to 4-13. It's not going to buy you a free pass. Or I think what needs to happen this year is you need to see improvement.
And that's what I contended. Chris, when I've been asked about it, and Rich Eisen asked me about it, and I said, look, and we talked about it on our air too. The record matters less than the quality control and how the product looks. If you go 8-9 against this schedule and you're losing to Kansas City 31-30 on some insane Patrick Mahomes play, well, then the quality control's improved. You didn't make the playoffs, but you had a gauntlet of a schedule, and you didn't look like you did last year when you're playing Vegas and guys throw the ball back over their head. You look better. You're on the right track. You have the quarterback in the right spot. But if it does look, unfortunately, if it looks like it's headed in the right direction, well, then, yeah, you have a quarterback, you have a head coach, you have a roster that's okay. If it looks like the quality control and the situational football and the institutional ability to execute at the end of games is not there, then that's a problem. We saw that in the first two games. They got down 33-3 combined in the first two games.
Yeah.
And then at the end of both,
you do get a drop. I thought, or a fumble. I thought early in that game, hey, listen, the game plan, week one was going to be tough. And I thought the way they battle back, it's funny, you look at it on the glass half empty.
No, I was giddy. I gave him a moral victory. I gave him the 8th moral victory I've given him since 2020.
8th, wow. What were the other 7? Were there ones that I would remember?
I gave him a moral victory when Cam was here for losing 35-30. I gave him a moral victory last year. I gave him a moral victory against the Cowboys when they lost. I gave him a moral victory when they lost.
That was a good game.
Yep.
In my head, it felt like they won that game. I just can't remember. That's
moral victory. I gave him a moral victory for not getting their asses handed to him by Brady when they lost 19-17.
That was a great game.
Moral victory. Everybody had a good time. You go home and everybody's going to have January off. So there's a lot of those. And that's you're digging yourself a hole by Dietrich Wise. God bless him. Love him. You do too, I'm sure. Lining up off sides to wipe out.
Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, it's in their
12-yard
mistakes.
And they do that. And Tony Romo's on the telecast going, why, it's not Bill Belichick type football. It is, bud. This is what's going on.
Yeah, well, no, and obviously his name's on it, but I do think when it came to, they're just not, they're a team that can be good and led by the defense, but offensively right now, everything has to go right.
Mm-hmm. So perfectly.
You can't have, and there are other teams like that. They're not the only one. You play Miami, and I get it. Keep everything in front of you, make them drive the field, bank on maybe them throwing you one or putting the ball on the ground like this stuff happens. And, it kind of worked. They forced them to kick a field goal early. Then they get down the field, and I missed the interception or the fumble from the rookie.
Good play by the defense. It wasn't a matter of carelessness as much as it was just a crazy play by Chubb.
I was driving back to work because my internet doesn't work here. So I go to work from like 12 to 8, come home to see the kids for like a second. My wife had cooked dinner, and I'm like, let me turn the ball game on. I'm really excited to watch this game. Starlink doesn't work. So I got to go back to work, and I was in there till 4 a.m. I haven't gone back and watched that play yet. But the whole thing is, when you start the game like that, you're on schedule until that happens. And then when you're in the red zone on 2nd and 7, and you take a shot at Xavier and Howard, I don't like that.
Don't
You
like
know, those are two plays right there that could be 14 points. And I don't mean that to say for sure if they hit that shot or don't take it, they're going to score 7 points. But that's the way I think when I'm looking glass half full at a group. They'll get the linemen they miss back. I thought Miami's as good as any team you're going to play right now.
Yep.
And that was a big test, and they were so close. The thing that let them down and was 4-minute mode. You know, if they're playing a little bit better defensively, and I think they're great, so I'm not worried about the defense. They might win that game as bad as the offense played. Look at they were right in it at the end. And Cole Strange, I don't know if he's over the line.
Here's the thing, and people are like, "Oh, they were close. They were close." And you're right. You're saying the same thing. And I think that but they were still just about to pick up a first down at the 30, thanks to their guard. It's not as close as we think. So,
and there was a minute left. So if you're a Dolphins fan, like obviously we're not saying they should have won that game.
Ooh, you just missed me.
But it's a one possession game, and there's no reason most people would think that they'd be in a one possession game with the Dolphins right now. And so just stay at it and get the guys back healthy, make a move before the deadline for a damn wide receiver or something.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/NSBO and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Mass. Hope is here. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling helpline ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. Talk to me about the psychology of this team right now. Matthew Judon, who I'm sure is the kind of player you really enjoy, and you'd have a blast with him. But you ever cross paths with him?
A little bit, just like
when he was with the Ravens.
Text or something. I was going to have him on the show. It kind of fell through, but I like his game, man. You can tell he's just really strong. He's always under control. He's athletic. He's got to do a lot of looping, a lot of stunting. He's got to win one-on-ones. I think he's got a really fun game to watch.
It's funny. I remember you actually said that nobody gets to run the loop like they're letting Judon do it.
Well, no, nobody. I'm talking about that's the other loop. I'm saying
the hoop of the loop.
He sometimes is running the big hoop, and when you got 17 sacks or whatever it is, the rules don't apply. But the loops, I mean, he's real good at
the interior,
the stuff that I consider to be you'd look at it and be like, hey, you just got to run. And then I'd go try to run, and I'd be like, okay, this is hard. It's hard to hit your third step and fit off the tackle and whatnot. It's not necessarily winning a one-on-one, but he's really good at that too. And I think I respect his game a lot.
So Sunday after the game, he's very much their spokesman, I think, in terms of being the team conscious. Slater obviously is the primary, but I think that Matthew Judon does a great job of it. And he says before he takes questions, he said, look, I'm going to have something to say here. Before we get to negative questions, I want to tell you all, basically the upshot was, this isn't a bad team, so I'm not going to field negative questions. Because the team's 0-2, 2 bad starts, 2 losses to good teams. And is that whistling past the graveyard? What kind of mindset are they trying to install in that situation?
I can't speak to what the team personality is like right now. I was only there for a year, but
just in your experience, maybe being with St. Louis and the times you guys had time.
I mean, that's to me is, hey, we got a lot to deal with in here. Listen, we're not always telling you all the truth. I think the truth is he does believe they're not a bad team because I can see that. I mean, I
don't think they're bad either.
It's one of those things where you could log on and listen to everybody or just read all the hyperbolic stuff. And yeah, there is some the repetitive nature of some of this stuff is a little frustrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in a vacuum, if you had no expectation prior, you turned on their 2 games, you'd say, they got some problems, but this is a tough, frisky team. Like, I don't want to play the Pats, and I don't want to play that defense. So I think what Matt might be saying is, we got young guys, we've been through a lot, we had the Jack Jones thing, we've got injuries, we've got all types of hiccups.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need it right now. I'm going to go in there and be positive because Bill's chewing our ass out. When you lose in New England or anywhere, I mean, people think it's just New England. It's not just New England. It's really tight in the building. And so sometimes your job as a leader is to balance the energy out a little bit and, be positive even when it's obviously not. So I think that stuff it's good. It's what, he's the leader of that defense. I trust him. Without Dev there, somebody's got to do it. That's such a big loss. Dev's up there at on Sunday Night Football. He's doing great, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
I love the guy, and he was one of the best leaders I ever play with. But that's a void. So Judon's stepping up to fill that void too.
And the bitch of it is he knows that we know that they're 2-7 in their last 9 games going back to last year. The 2 wins are against Holt McCoy, God bless him, and Skylar Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater with the Cardinals and the Dolphins.
You know what's funny? When you look at teams that have had long losing streaks, I don't know if I heard this correctly, but the Titans hadn't won a game in a while before they beat the Chargers, of course. Because the Chargers, everybody's get right game right now. I just cannot believe a defensive head coach that this happens every week. Anyways, I keep getting fooled every year by those guys. But yeah, like the Titans are kind of a decent comp for the Pats. And it's like, of course, like it's going to be like the Titans play the
no margin. They have no margin for error.
The Titans play the Browns this week. And it's just going to be like, okay, you missed 1987. Here we go. It's just going to be a slugfest. And I feel the same way about, like, in some ways playing the Pats, but they have the potential to have a better passing game because of the quarterback, I believe. And I think Tannehill had a big rebounding day Sunday against Chargers. But it's the Chargers. So it's funny when you think about a comp for a team. If Tennessee was coming to town, you're like, your reaction, it's a tough day. It's going to be a tough day. You better buckle up. That's what people say when the Pats come to town. Whatever their record is, if it's 0-2, like, this is a team we're looking at. I think they're tough.
And I guess that's just such a wild realization to go from, here come those pesky, frisky Patriots. We might not lose to them because they'll do something at the end to screw up, but they're going to be a pain in our ass, as opposed to, here come the Patriots. Bill Belichick's going to big brain us. Tom Brady's going to, even if we play our best, Tom Brady's going to pull a rabbit out of his hat. And it's just a come down. And it's absolutely the NFL circle of life, Chris. I mean, we are now living, we escaped it for 20 years, deal with the devil. But now we're in it. And it's a weird adjustment. And we're in it while Bill is still here. So you look at him and going, I thought you were that guy. Are you still not?
It's a little Twilight Zone-y, but like, context, you can't ignore it with any player, with any coach. Like, it is the ultimate team game. It's not just a cliche. And I do think he's the GOAT. I think that, when you look at his track record and, obviously the Super Bowls, the whole thing, there's no way to know. Like Sean Payton and Drew Brees were together forever. They got one bowl. It's and I'm just pulling one. Peyton Manning's an absolute GOAT too. But, you don't get there every year. It's like something they did the Patriot way or whatever it was. And I think it's all about balance. It's the quarterback position, but it's also like, hey, we have a team identity. We play complementary football. We're going to be better on offense some years, like 2007. We're going to be better on defense some years, like that year that you were chasing Sam Darnold around and he was seeing ghosts. But the thing you come back to is that team plays complementary football and there's no big holes. In the last couple of years, that hasn't been the case, at times. And I think that's not the hardest thing in the world to get back to. You're a couple players away from being a lesser version of those teams, but like, you don't have Tom Brady, you can still be a playoff team. Not this year, maybe, depending on who you ask. I'm not going to make big, bold predictions week 2, but I'm not going to say they're missing the playoffs for sure. I don't know that.
That's what stinks is you never want to stop something when you're that close. And while we're impatient to see the Patriots get back and we're agitated, I had that moral victory and I actually rescinded the moral victory. Yeah. After they lost to Miami. I had to take it back, revoked it. Back. Yeah, because they didn't build on the moral victory.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but you don't want to stop when they're that close. You don't want to say, you know what? All right, Bill, I know you're 71. You had long enough, done. Yeah. And find that they were that close, which they do look friggin' that close right now.
I think so too. I think so too. And I'm, it's funny because I always get accused of hating the Patriots. I think after this interview, people are going to be like, you're just Patriots fans. These people, if you're not talking about the Pats, they're like, what about the Pats? You hate us. Which is some in sports media that I've learned is like, you can't escape it, especially when you're covering all the teams. You don't have to worry about that as much, but like, we'll do 3 minutes on like the Buccaneers, like week 1. And people are like, didn't talk about the Bucs long enough. I'm like, did you see the other games from the teams that are probably relevant this year? But I like the Pats, man, but I'm not trying to spin this thing. I'm just calling it how I see it. I don't think they're a terrible team. I think there's a lot of teams in the middle that have a chance to take steps forward or back, and that's a new reality. But Bill always said, in my limited time there, the season doesn't start till I forget which month. I just made sure I was playing hard.
I was a big Columbus Day guy.
October or
it starts Columbus Day is when.
What is Columbus Day? What day of the
I think it's usually like October 12th-ish.
When's Leif Erikson Day? Get that guy out of here. But I'm just joking. I don't want to piss anybody off. But it doesn't start till like Thanksgiving or whatever he said. It's true. Like the Patriots get better as the year goes on. That's what you're accustomed to. They figure things out. Like it's like Virginia basketball. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They have this differentiating factor in Tony Bennett, in my opinion. They don't always have the most talented players, the whole thing. They're not like, UNC, but they got a national championship. They've been there. They've been close. The beginning of the season, sometimes they'll just get beat by these teams. And you're like, I understand to be patient, but it's hard right now. But every season they get better because they have this coach. And I really do believe when you have a great coach, whether or not he's winning games right now, the upside of a team that appears bad in the beginning of the season is higher there than look at the other 0-2 teams. I was asked this on Inside the NFL, who's the best 0-2 team? And everybody had it, and of course it's
Cincy.
Because I don't know if Joe's going to get through the season. He can't even. He's limping out to the handshake line. Obviously, they're a good team, but like, do I trust Taylor over Bill? Chargers. People are talking about the Chargers. I don't trust Brandon Staley over Bill. And, it looks better because they score 40 points a game, but they're just the inverse of the Pats right now. So, like, take your pick. I lean defense, and I lean, like, the greatest coach of all time. I think they're the best 0-2 team, whatever consolation that is to you guys.
My last question, because it's the thing we always focus on. You spoke about him already a little bit. But I really think that Mac Jones can be a winning quarterback. I'm not saying he's going to be top 5, but I'm saying he can take you where you need to get.
He can live in the 10 to 15 range if he's, and that'll win you a lot of games. Because like, who are the 10 to 15 range guys right now? I'm not trying to rank quarterbacks, but if you looked up, a list of, I'm doing it right now.
Daniel Jones-ish.
Yeah, I mean, could he be Daniel Jones without?
I think he could be better than Daniel Jones in terms of pressure throw. Yeah,
and Daniel Jones, there was a lot of reason to be excited about this kid. I'm not saying like, but in my opinion, I think people are shocked about the Giants. I didn't think they were going to be that good this year. I think there's a limiting. Like you look at the Giants, they don't have a strength, especially with Saquon down as he is. That's going to be hell on a short week. They don't have a strength like the Pats have a strength. You know, like have a strength, so have something you can hang your hat on. I believe especially in a league full of young quarterbacks, having a defense that can be multiple and shift and do things differently week to week, and the rushers and the back end guys, the defense as a whole is a strength. The Giants don't have a strength to me. You know, you got Waller, you got some mixed bag of wide receivers, mixed bag elsewhere. Like the defense wasn't great last week. Yeah, I like the Pats. I'm sorry. I'm I'm done. Yeah.
We're done. And we're getting you out of here because that was a great pod and I appreciate it. I want you to go dry yourself out, nostrils, get the throat cleared out, and really, really, really appreciate you. It's always great to talk.
Going back to bed, man. It's good to see you, Tom.
All right. Have a great week and a great weekend. Enjoy the games. You need me, let me know.
Okay, brother. Appreciate you.